All right. I'd like to call to order the City of Saugatuck City Council Workshop Meeting for Wednesday, February 7th. If the clerk could please call the roll.
Anderson,
Here.
Baldwin.
Here.
Dean,
Here.
Gardner,
Here.
Muncy,
Here.
Stanton,
Here.
White.
Here.
You have a quorum?
All right. Do we have any agenda changes, additions, deletions? Okay. Any guest speakers? None. All right. We're on to public comment on agenda items only. If there's anyone in the room who'd like to put down their cupcake and stand, or if there's anyone online who would like to speak on agenda items only. No one. Okay. All right. We're on to our discussion items for this afternoon. 6A, meeting rules of procedure amendment. It's on page 2 of your packet. And Jamie, if you wanted to go over this a little bit.
So this was requested by the mayor at the last meeting to remove under staff reports, boards and commission reports, the short-term rental task force update and the tri-community recycling ad hoc committee update. Per your rules and procedures, you need to vote on that. So on the next page, I have what your current agenda is on the left and what your new agenda will look like on the right.
So this is something we, obviously have to vote on Monday. But
Oh.
we just needed to remove those because the one was the ad hoc committee and then the other was a task force. So those were just temporary and we need to have those removed. Do you guys have any questions or discussion on that?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, the only, once we make this amendment change, can we get new copies of the rules of procedure? I'm not sure if that's been distributed to everybody. Because this is actually section 3 of the council, what's it called? The council,
Would you like
rules.
that included in the packet? Is that what you're asking?
Yes, yeah. After this change is made, I would like to see that distributed to everybody in council so everybody has it. So,
Okay. Jamie, is that something you could do?
Yes, you would like that emailed or in the packet?
My personal would be twice, email it to us and then put it in the packet so the public can see it too, would be my thought.
Is that something the rest of council would like to see as well?
I have no objections.
Okay. As
Thank you.
long as that's okay with you, Jamie, and that is something you can
Oh, yeah.
put together. That sounds great.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, so we're moving on to discussion item 6B, right-of-way signage request. It's on page 4. Does anybody, let's see, Ryan Cummins, is this you?
It's something that Jamie's actually brought forth. to
Okay,
you.
Jamie?
So, yep.
Saugatuck Douglas Events would like to place a banner under the pallet sign from March 1st through March 16th for the St. Patrick's Day pub crawl event. This is something you routinely look at as far as needs to come before council to vote on to place a banner in the right of way.
All right, does anybody have any questions or comments on that?
I just have a question. Why does council need to approve this? I mean, couldn't staff approve stuff like this?
So the short answer is yes, if. So the current temporary sign regulations indicate that a signage in the right of way is subject to council's approval or council's, but council can also set a designee to approve these as well, is what the ordinance says. So we've taken a look at this particular issue and whether or not there's any like clear approval from the council in the past designating some other staff member to approve these and haven't been able to find that. So
Is it one of those things where if there's something controversial, I mean, obviously we haven't had anything controversial really come up that wants to be on the pallet sign, but if it did, no, I don't know.
Yeah, it just seems like the clerk and maybe, the director of planning could sign off on it. I mean, it just seems,
I know. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, yeah, Madam Mayor, I would, yeah, it would be great if this were an administrative responsibility only, but in experience, I think it's best for this to come to council just to approve it, because then that also covers the city staff too, because there can be controversy around this. So I mean, it's a very simple thing for us to do is just have it presented and pass it off. I'd rather continue to have it come to council. I don't think it's too onerous.
I mean, the only other alternative is, as things hopefully get more sort of organized, and I was pleased to hear Lisa's comments the other day, once things get calendared out, if there's things that are routine that we can sort of just look at ahead of time and say, part of this is
Yeah.
this.
Approve 15 signs.
Right.
Yeah, for the year.
And then that might minimize the amount, because I understand Russ's point, but I also think, yeah, just to be more efficient.
I've never known of a controversial sign that, have we ever turned one down?
Not that I'm aware of.
I haven't like a Klan rally in town. or
Well,
something.
if that were to come up, we
Yeah,
would,
okay.
you know,
We'd have a
be
long
able to
discussion.
deny that. Yeah.
We'd have discussed
Yeah,
that. I would want to
we would
discuss that.
discuss
Yes,
that.
okay.
This application is usually turned in when we're approving an event.
Yes.
But because this is a pub crawl, they're not going through all of that. So that's why we just have this. But yeah, usually.
That's a good
it's-
point,
It's
yeah.
along with the event.
Yeah, that's a good
So,
point.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a
Right.
good point.
it's not like,
Lovely.
and it's not like we're bombarded with these.
Right.
You know,
I
so.
mean, I don't know, what's easier for you guys? Is it easier to integrate it into the permitting for the actual event? Is it easier to just let you see the calendar, say, okay, council, these are already kind of baked into the year? I mean, what's easier for you guys? I mean, I know it would free up one item on the agenda, but Russ is correct. It only takes us a few seconds usually to agree with on one of these but you do have to add them, so.
I like the idea, and you brought that up, Russ, that it kind of made me realize, I like the idea that council's voting on it. So it doesn't really, like I said, if something were to be controversial or something, that doesn't go on the backs of the employees.
Put it on the staff. yeah.
Logan,
Yeah,
did you have
yeah.
something?
Yeah, I like the idea. I like that council kind of takes the heat if something
Right.
weird would
I
go
do.
on.
For some
But
reason.
at the same time, if we're approving signage that is appearing, on our property, it might be good to see a mock-up of what that sign is intended to look like. If we're really trying to make sure that like the burden of, approval and everything,
So
if we're doing our
sometimes-
due
I mean,
diligence, at a minimum, not like a final mock-up, but maybe there's just a text box that any approved text or anything shows up there, so they have room to play with the design, but like, what are you gonna say on this?
No,
sign,
that's a
you
good
know,
point. I was
like-
just gonna say, like, when, as
Yeah.
someone who's applied for a lot of events,
Yeah.
you might apply for an
Yeah.
event, I'm putting our application together for both the Venetian and Mount Bald Head Challenge right now.
Yeah,
That's in July and in September. We don't have a banner yet, but yeah, to your point, as long as it's just text, I don't have to give you like the,
yeah, with like flexible
artwork,
hours and
yeah.
stuff, but like if there's any like taglines, I don't know, we might have to talk about that a little bit, but
Right.
I wouldn't want to make the burden too high.
Yeah.
But some level of like, this is kind of what we're thinking for this
Fair.
sign, so that if something weird were to get put up, we could say this differs from,
Yeah.
what was approved, kind of cover us a little bit.
Right.
And that could-
So
I
that
don't
would
think it's a problem
normally
that
be
exist.
in the form that they fill out. Is that something where we could update the form to include the text? So
Yeah,
Well, it's
I
not-
think that's a good idea.
It's a line for number of yards.
it does say further comments, but maybe
In fact, it's on this application. Oh, yeah, there it is for the comment.
yeah.
Yeah,
Russ, did you have something?
yeah, Madam Mayor, I would say it's very appropriate just to include that as part of the event application, right? If you're gonna plan to have a banner, here's the information we're going to need.
Mhm.
I go further with this, and we don't need to necessarily discuss this today, but banners themselves have been an issue for the city from a safety standpoint. Last year, I forget which event it was, but the banner was breaking loose and was literally flapping around, and I got a text from a citizen who said, hey, the banner's flapping around. So I called the sheriff. I said, hey, can you go over and take care of it? And he said, yeah. And I said, I went over there with him because it was pretty unwieldy. The reason I mentioned this is because it can be a safety hazard if they're not appropriately, secured, all that, because it's city property. And so if something were to go wrong and that were to fly in someone's windshield and cause an accident, guess who's liable? The city. So I think that should be part of something we discuss further is, making sure that the banners are, allow wind to move through because they can design banners so they stay stable. And that's something we should probably discuss.
Any other comments or questions on that?
It's funny to get into this much, but I hung a sign up recently for the film festival, and I didn't really know how to do it. So I was up there just in it. I don't know if there could be like some sort of like,
Supposed to drop it off to DPW.
Yeah.
is that
You're
what
not
it
supposed
is?
to make
Okay.
yourself- yeah.
I was impressed though with,
That-
with
I tried.
the automotive grade tie downs that you use. That was-
I tried.
Fell on me
It was
not to
quite,
tell you
it was
that.
quite
I
substantial.
Yeah,
probably
I
didn't tell you
I had
that.
ratchet straps. It was
Yeah.
serious.
Oh.
It wasn't going anywhere, I can tell you that, but
I
I see
like,
someone fix it. Was that
I'm
you?
sorry.
No, it wasn't me, but I was impressed with your craft.
I'm sure it was Scott Herbert. He saw that and went, nobody brought this to me. They had to be
So
done.
I don't know if there's just some sort of like list we could put on there, like, hey, this is how you do this if you
Yeah.
want to do this.
I think that's appropriate.
I might be able to help you. I don't know if you noticed, but those corn stalks, they go up pretty high on those poles and I have a big ladder up there. So yeah, I know exactly.
Right.
Uh,
Okay. Is there anything concrete that you would like changed about our form that goes out then?
I like the idea of
You know,
further
this isn't-
comments.
This isn't a day that we're making a decision, but if we want to go forward with it, you know,
Bring a form back.
we would have to bring a form back for Jamie to look at,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
or to,
No, this is our C.
No, I think that, you know, yeah,
Administratively.
we typically would create forms all the time based on, you know, what we need to carry out. So I think.
so we're asking that on the form, it state what the
text is
verbiage
gonna
is,
be,
the text
yeah.
verbiage
Yeah,
would be.
some verbiage and then some sort of, I don't know if I missed it, but like, please drop the sign off to DPW.
Yeah.
Great.
and-
That's added on there too.
Must not hit send on that email.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think Mr. Herbert has some spec information that he's provided
Yeah.
for as far as size and
Cool.
having some
Yeah.
ways for wind to
Okay.
move through. So I mean, if
Sounds
there's
like an
a,
accessibility issue rather than
All
like
right.
a
Yeah.
existing.
we can just, we'll make sure to include that with our practice just to make
Okay.
sure and hand out that type of a sheet and,
All right.
and really, you know, with these types of applications, I mean, you know, Saga, you know, well, since I've been here, you kind of review everything on your work session agenda. You don't have to review every, you know, agenda item for a work session agenda. The other way that, you know, we can kind of handle these as well is, I mean, this could be a consent agenda type of approval where if we think there's no concerns, we'll just put it on a consent agenda. It's approved with a larger group of items. That way you don't have to individually review
That'd be great.
or discuss each one. It's
Right.
still there for your approval and you can still remove it from consent and have a discussion if you have concerns, but you know, we could
That'd be
handle it that
great.
way.
Yeah. Okay. If we could move on then to discussion item 6C, City Council meeting date request, page 6. And this is also from Jamie.
So, the election is on February 27th. Here in the council chamber, you have a regular scheduled city council meeting on the night of the 26th. And typically I set this up as the polling place all day on the 26th or the weekend before. So I'm just asking a kind favor that I don't have to stay after the council meeting until midnight to set this up because I come in at 5 a.m. on election day. That if you could possibly reschedule that meeting to another day so I could proceed to set this up at a decent time.
And Ryan, you know, as far as the charter goes, we have 2 meetings in the month. If one is a workshop meeting, along with our other full city council meeting, does that? Because we've had several special meetings, we've had a workshop, we've had, we'll have a meeting on Monday, a full meeting on Monday. If you could explain that.
Right, and Jake can correct me if I'm wrong, because I know they've done some analysis on this historically, and it didn't sound like your work sessions have been really characterized as a regular meeting to count towards that.
Okay, because we're not
purpose.
voting on anything. Yeah.
Right, so now the charter doesn't specify that you have to have your meetings on a particular day. Your rules of procedure do, but the rules of procedure also contemplate that there's times that you may need to reschedule a regular meeting, and so so there's the option for you to change your meeting, date and time. There's also an option to, it also contemplates that you may need a location change or something along those lines. That might be an option as well.
Yeah,
That's a good point. We
Yeah.
could maybe borrow the township or something?
Yeah, Madam Mayor, I was going to go out on a limb here and say, why don't we think about having the meeting up at the school, for instance, or at SCA, somewhere other than city council chambers?
Yeah, and
Is the clerk going to be able to, I mean, will you have time to do a meeting, given that you're going to be setting up all day?
Yeah, does that?
And
create
would it
undue work?
also be better if we just had it on Thursday or a different day?
So I think what I've said to Jamie when we discussed this was that I had a little, that we will do whatever the council desires, that, logistically, finding another location, if it's the SCA, we might have to pay money for it. And there's just other logistical things to think about. How do we, stream the meeting and
In sports
still,
at the high school? and-
So, another date might be easier, but we can make either one work. So.
Would Thursday work for you that week, which is what date?
That's the 20. So I will say we're doing something similar for PPW because PPW is supposed to be on the 27th and we moved it to the 29th. I'm happy to have 2 meetings that day. If you guys want to meet on Thursday, the 29th, I think that's fine.
That works for me.
And would that kind of give you a break, Jamie, of getting everything taken care of over those election days and,
Oh, absolutely, because we set the room back up the next morning.
okay? Does that work for everyone to have a 7 o'clock meeting on that Thursday, the 29th?
I'm checking just.
I'm looking as well. I feel, I'm still in town and I could do that day.
I think I can.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
And I'm not tied to 7 o'clock either. If you guys wanted to do it earlier or whatever, that's up to you guys.
7 o'clock on Thursday works for me.
It appears to be open at this point, so yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
So I feel good about that date and we would approve that on Monday then, right, Jane?
I'll update your sample motion.
Okay, that sounds good.
Nice.
Any other discussion on that? All right, so we're on to public comment on anything you would like to speak about. Anyone in the room like to go to the podium? Okay.
Mark Klungel, 747 Water. I'm just making a comment and supporting Catherine Simon's letter. If you should read it, it's well researched. I've listened to the dialogue on the historic a couple times and I really don't think they're seeing the forest through the trees on that whole thing. So I think the council should look at this quite seriously. Because it's somebody else's property and somebody else is trying to judge what you can do with your own property. And I think it's gone too long, too far. And I would think Catherine's note about it is quite on point. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
All right.
All right, anyone online wishing to speak on any item? Anyone online wishing to speak? Okay. All right, okay, because it's also Mark on mine. We do have correspondence from Catherine Simon. It's in your packet. So we are now on to council comments. This way, I'll go this way this time and start with Logan, if that's okay. Okay, Gregory?
Thank you for the cupcakes, delicious cupcakes, homemade, made by Helen Baldwin, and cupcakes brought in by Ryan Cummings as well. And thank you for the little birthday party. It's a pleasure serving with all of you. And I appreciate it.
Scott?
I'll just simply say happy birthday again.
Thanks.
Great, Helen?
I did want to make one comment. It was interesting, and I know you know about this, but I forgot to update you. I had the opportunity, somebody was married in Saugatuck 7 years ago, and they called and asked if they were married by the mayor, and they called to see if the mayor would marry them again. He was hosting a birthday party for his wife in Ferndale. So, and I happened to be on the side of town that day, so I went there and surprised her with a vow renewal, and it was a really good time. It was, yeah, it was fun. Like, that's like the cool part about being on council, getting to marry somebody is pretty cool. So, yeah, I had a great
First
time.
one.
It was a vow renewal, so I didn't, yeah. Although I've married people before and it was very fun. So yes, I had a good time and it was a happy reason to be on council and to serve that way. They loved it.
I love it. Thanks,
That's it.
Helen.
Thank you.
Yes.
No comment.
All right, Helen?
Nothing for me.
All right. All right, we're at the point. I'd like to take a motion for adjournment.
Make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
All right.
Second, Dean?
Yeah. All those in favor say yes.
Yeah.
Yes. All
Adjourn.
right.